Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. I am still Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. It's still in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly for pricing. I am Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com. Today, we are discussing a sports model launched by Bethune back in 2015. This is the DB28 GS or Grand Sport. 44 millimeters in diameter in grade 5 titanium. It's thinner than you would expect. At 11.4 millimeters thick, it's considerably thinner than even a Rolex Daytona. And this example has the rarely seen Bethune short lugs. They have a couple of different sizes. They can be optioned differently, but I commonly see the large, the medium, and I hardly ever see these small lugs that span 50.7 millimeters when fully extended. And because these are variable geometry spring-loaded floating lugs, the inward compression creates a lug-to-lug spacing of just 47.1 millimeters, making this one of the most compact DB28s not in the XS family. The spacing between the lugs is 26 millimeters. We'll throw this watch on my wrist. Really, it works beautifully. You can see how flat it is, though it looks like it might be thick. It's an optical illusion. It's very low on the wrist, and it will fit underneath dress cuffs. You can also see that, especially with those lugs compressed and the watch strapped down, that the lugs are nowhere near the edge of my wrist. And I believe you could wear this watch on these lugs on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. And it is very light. Being all titanium, sapphire, and rubber, it floats on the wrist. The strap, as you can see, is a Jean Rousseau for Bethune. Jean Rousseau of Paris, high-end manufacturer, the OEM strap supplier to Bethune and F.P. Journe. They always make nice things. And here you can see this is a 100% non-leather strap. Between the textile pattern and the rubber bottom, you can make full use of this watch's screw-down crown and 300-foot water resistance. At Bethune, buckles are designed to match lug profiles. So you can see here we have satination, open, airy, prismatic, and we have the exact same design on the lugs themselves. Now note the case is primarily satin and polished, but the lugs are exclusively satin. And you can see the little vestige of the original Bethune DB1 chronograph. In 2002, the first product of Bethune was the DB1 chronograph, and it was very classically styled. The only element of that watch that endures on this avant-garde piece, these little ogival or torpedo-tipped lug ends. That's a nod to the company's past. The lugs are very robust and very durable, and that is with intent, as this is a very sporting watch. The crown is a screw-down, though sharply knurled and easy to grip. Taken the quick tour of the case perimeter, you can see that there's a little bit of a flange where the bezel overlaps the mid case, but then on its top, rather than being polished, it is circular satinated with little polished cabochon of titanium acting as the hour indices. Inboard, we have a sort of metallic and modern take on the historic sector dial, as we have a blueprinted, satin-finished, dished minutes track against which you can read the individual minutes. And note we have fired blue hands on this dial side. We also have a reductive cut. It's not traditional rose lathe guilloche because Bethune rightly reasoned that something like a breguet rosette pattern would look out of place here. But this microlight engraving is a thin, fine, reductive engraving performed on an engine. And so you get this wonderful forward-looking type of cut without stooping to some sort of shortcut like stamped guilloche or a stamped pattern. All of this is very slowly and evenly turned. You can also see that we have a cap above the base plate and a cap above the barrel bridge, and there's a little seam down the center because it's split down the middle. On top of that, we have diamond paste polished mirrored surfaces, and then below that, you can see the twin mainspring barrels poking out, manual wind, 6 days of power reserve. The wheels, I should say the barrels, are self-adjusting, and with 6 days of power reserve, the two mainsprings have been phased in series so that the torque curve from maximum wind to minimum wind is very flat, like a plateau, delivering a super consistent force to the escapement for regular timekeeping. And because these are self-adjusting, one of the mainsprings is designed to slip in its barrel if you start to overwind it, so you cannot accidentally overwind it. Take a quick look above this ratchet wheel. You can see there's a little blue index that moves between L and H. That is a tiny hidden power reserve indicator. Also note that we have 1, 2, 3 shock protection springs on the balance. That's called triple parachute, and it exists for 2 reasons. First, avoid damaging the balance staff pivot. Durability. Second, more rapidly recenter the balance staff pivot in its cup jewel so the watch can resume accurate timekeeping after a shock, so it's both for durability and chronometry. You can see that the bridge, the balance bridge, has been completely black polished and then beveled or chamfered on its side, and the same is true of the springs for the triple parachute. Take a close look and you can see one of Denis Flageolet's 10 individual patented balance designs. This one with a white gold rim and an evacuated silicone wheel. Denis' goal is always the same: reduce the effects of temperature on timing, reduce the effects of aerodynamic drag on timing, and put as much of the total mass in the rim of the balance as possible. And this is the original balance design with which the model launched back in 2015. You can see the hairspring. It's flat, but it's unconventionally shaped. Cut in half, shaped by hand, and then clamped back together. It's thin like a flat hairspring and shock resistant like a flat hairspring, but it breathes concentrically like an overcoil. Now, I don't know how well you're going to see this, but there's also a low-friction silicone escape wheel that helps to extend the power reserve and improve the timekeeping. So the finish here is modern in its aesthetic, but very traditional in its details and standards. And you can see just how much depth there is under the sapphire on this dial. A watch protected by no fewer than 6 individual patents, coming from a company that caps its production under 400 watches per year and has only just made over 3,500 watches since its founding in 2002. It's also a company we own, frankly, and I'm a lucky man because my company bought my favorite watch brand. And in the future, when I finally own my Grail watch, it will be a de Bethune. And it will be easy to find because de Bethune is the brand that makes nothing but Grail watches. Reach out to me. I am Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.